Tech companies have been on a mad dash to incorporate AI into every part of our lives, but they never stop to ask if we should rely on these tools in the first place. The rise of generative AI tools has been presenting new challenges for us all, but on the individual level, we are given an impossible choice. We can go all in, use these tools to quote unquote boost productivity, and make them a deeply integrated part of our workflows. Or we can refuse to use them and continue making things the old fashioned way, using the incredible computer inside of our heads. Both tactics come with some significant trade offs. If you reject AI tools, there's a feeling that you might get left behind, or not be productive enough to be competitive. It also just creates a sense of unease that you're quote unquote wasting your time, because this could be done already if you had used AI. On the other hand, if you choose to go all in on AI, you'll run into a couple of problems. First, the outputs can be low quality and prone to hallucinations, as well as potentially being visibly AI generated, which can limit their potential. Second, you can't blindly trust the results of these systems, and therefore you need to check their work. That can sometimes take longer than doing the work yourself in the first place. Anytime that I've tried to make an AI system that is fully autonomous, it goes off the rails and starts hallucinating. These systems need human oversight at their current stage of development, and that comes at a cost. Third, and the biggest concern for me, over-reliance on these tools leads to cognitive offloading, where rather than engaging with the problem and working through it, you offload it to a machine that does it for you. This can be relief at first, but over time, this comes with a hidden cost: atrophy. The brain is a muscle, and it has to be used to keep it sharp. If you outsource all of your writing to a machine, the neural pathways that used to handle that will stop being used. The key to finding a balance in this catch-22 is to recognize that it's not a waste of time to do things yourself. Working through problems manually builds valuable skills, which are becoming increasingly rare in a world powered by AI. Cognitive offloading is something that I've increasingly struggled with as a programmer. I remember a few years ago when I ran into something difficult, I would have to wrangle with it in my mind, dig through Stack Overflow to figure out how to manipulate the data in the way that I wanted, and then come up with a solution, learning all along the way. But with a large language model always within arm's reach that has already read all of Stack Overflow, it's far too tempting to simply ask for help anytime you run into friction. I now find myself outsourcing simple Python functions all the time because I don't want to deal with the potential off by one error, but these shortcuts are quickly eroding my coding ability that I spent a decade building. I've yet to find the right balance for me personally, and I'm not sure that I ever will, but I do think that setting a line in the sand somewhere is important. Sometimes I try to relegate AI to a collaborative brainstorming role in a project, for bouncing ideas off of. Other times I'll have it write the code while I plan out the high-level architecture. Each approach has its merits and downsides like everything in life. But one thing is for sure, we need to figure out this balance or we are in trouble. I'm fortunate enough to have grown up and gone through most of my education before Gen AI tools got good enough to be useful. This forced me to truly learn how to work through math problems and write an essay. But if I was growing up now, I don't think I would be able to focus on learning these basic schools when I know that there will always be a seemingly intelligent chatbot in my pocket. I see a lot of people trying to draw parallels between AI tools and the calculator, and while I see where they're coming from, I think that is more of an apples to oranges comparison. Calculators are extremely good at basic math operations, and I do think that this is an early form of cognitive offloading. When you rely on a calculator rather than doing multiplication in your head all the time, you simply aren't going to be as good at multiplication. But for most, that trade-off is worth it, because it's an extremely specific skill and the increased precision and speed of a calculator is valuable. In addition, the advanced math still exists in a world full of calculators, because you need to know what to put into it and how it all fits together. AI tools are different, because rather than being extremely good at a very specific thing like a calculator, AI tools are decent at most everything. This is a problem, because with calculators, we were offloading 4 specific functions to a machine designed for those exact 4 functions. But with AI, the scope of what can be cognitively offloaded reaches broadly into everything. The general nature of these tools poses a problem because left unchecked, it's easy for them to creep into every inch of our lives. It's like a button we can press when we don't feel like doing something right now. Unfortunately, humans are not wired for moderation, and once we get a taste of not having to mentally engage with the problem, we get hooked. When we rely on AI for everything we do, we are reduced to a supervisor role, blindly clicking away without having to flex our brain muscles at all. I've experienced this firsthand with tools like Claude Code and Windsurf. And while the technical achievement required to make these tools a reality is undeniable, I don't like using these tools at all. These automatic coding tools seem like a great upgrade from simply copying and pasting code in from an LLM. but they take away that last bit of connection that forces you to interact with the code that is being written. And cutting that connection means you are no longer forced to understand what code is where or what it does. When you run into a problem, this invariably leads to a trance-like state where rather than diving in to fix the problem, you just keep asking the LLM to fix it. And when it is unable to do so, you are just wasting your time and energy while it runs in circles. While I'm sure that there are people who have managed to find a balance with these tools, they're not for me, and I much prefer having the AI component of my workflow confined to a chat interface rather than taking over my entire computer. With the mad dash to make the best AI, it has been pushed upon us with reckless abandon, when in reality, it should have been done with careful consideration for what is good for our brains, what is good for the environment, and what is good for society. In a world struggling with climate goals and misinformation, it doesn't seem wise to spend vast electrical and water resources powering huge data centers just to make AI happen, when we haven't even figured out how it slots into our world yet. In any case, I hope that this video makes you consider how you are using AI tools in your life. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but actively thinking about how much and why we are using these tools is the first step to finding the right balance. Thank you so much, and have a great day.